So the first talk today is by Henry Sinclair-Banks, who has a PhD from the University of Warwick, received in 2024, yes, in computer science, and is currently a postdoc at the University of Warsaw. And he's going to talk about how he tries to make his talks engaging.
Thank you, Linus. Thank you for attending. I appreciate that you've chosen the non-science option over the science option. This is going to be a really soft presentation. I don't know, I hope you take something from this. Ideally, every slide has one point that you can learn from and something actionable, hopefully. And this is going to be quite a meta presentation. You're going to be able to judge me on what I'm saying and how I'm saying it. I'm super nervous for this presentation. It's the first time I've tried something non-science, so thank you for the invitation. Bear with me, please. So, what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about three things. I'm going to split it up into thirds and make it super clear what's going on. The first is about soft skills. This is the most kind of out there, maybe non-scientific. Then I'm going to give some basics. A lot of you will know a lot about the basics already, but I think they're worth repeating because they're quite important. And then I'll talk about self-improvement, like how to really maximize getting good at this stuff. I'm presenting this because I think that the most important part of what makes a good talk is not necessarily the science. The number of times that people have approached me and gone, oh, I recognise you before, you presented at X, I remember, and then they describe something that wasn't necessarily scientific. It's when I said something stupid or funny, or I had a really nice figure, or just did something memorable. They don't necessarily go like, oh, that theorem on slide 7 from that conference, beautiful. They don't say that. And I'm going to try and give some of this. I think being memorable, having some personality, standing out is super important, not just for presenting, not just for interviewing, but I think it just helps in a sort of networking in a soft sense. So I'll just try and show you some of this now. So for soft skills, the first thing is use your voice. I hope I'm doing that already. The three things I think are most important is be loud almost always. I mean, don't shout, it's a bit ridiculous, but try to project your voice as much as possible. Do what I'm not doing. This is the one I struggle with the most. Speak slowly. I really struggle with this. Every time I watch one of my presentations back, I'm annoyed with myself. I think the nerves get the better of me. If you can speak slowly, you'll be understood better. I've got a fairly strong accent, and so it can be tough for non-native speakers to understand me. Try to be respectful of that. You're likely, if speaking in computer science, going to have a very mixed audience. They will struggle with certain accents. The slower you speak, the more time you give them like processing time to listen to you. And be expressive, right? Like show off like what you're excited about. You know, maybe don't always be super energetic. You kind of want to give an indication as to when people should listen to you more and when people should listen to you less. It should be natural from what you're excited about when you should be expressive. The second is eye contact. I've been trying, I think I've looked at everyone in the eyes so far. It's tough. Now that I'm speaking about eye contact, it feels really weird to look at people individually. Like really weird, right? And now some of you are looking away. Well, I'm looking at you and you're looking away. These are the kind of three things that I try and keep in mind. The first one is don't avoid everyone. If I look above or I look below or I look to the sides, it feels weird, like it's disconnecting. You can't connect with me, I can't connect with you either. Also, don't look at one person individually for too long, because it's weird for me, it's even weirder for you. And it's actually weird for the people around you, because they feel like I'm not talking to them, but I'm just speaking to you. So try not to do this. I will say that this is more evil than this, right? If you look at no one, it's more isolating, more disconnecting. Fixating on one person is a bit better, at least you're looking at someone. But, you know, it's a bit strange. If you're struggling, this is something I heard from a course. I really like this technique. It's kind of weird if you go around in circles, right? You look like you're not human at this point. So they recommended trying this figure of 8 pattern. So kind of draw a figure of 8 through the audience. Obviously not everyone lies in the figure of 8, but if you kind of trace people around and sort of like deviate from the figure of 8, you'll kind of catch everyone without, you know, looking a bit robotic and a bit strange. But after a while, if you get used to this, you'll kind of slowly and naturally be able to sort of dance between people without it looking so strange.
That sounds like total bullshit.
This?
Yeah, the 8 thing.
I think it works for me, because I struggle with eye contact, but I don't know.
8 yes, 0 no.
No, 0 is terrible.
3
yeah.
yes.
3 yeah. Right, I can like draw a W or something, yeah. It's just any kind of shape that doesn't make you look like a robot, I think is good. Positioning, I've tried to do this. So one thing you shouldn't do, you shouldn't stand behind a terminal, especially, right, if the terminal's quite tall and you're below it, you can't really see much of me. Ideally, you should be moving around. This room's not the best. I'm glad we only have this. I've been trying to move a bit. You've probably noticed. If you haven't, now you will notice it. Move from side to side. If you've got a really big lecture theatre, like the seminar room 1, if you're presenting in the next few days, try and move, stand on that stage, right? It takes a bit of bravery, but stand on that stage and move around. You will see me doing it later this week, or I'll try to do my best, unless they don't want you to stand on the stage. If you really get good at this, you can start to associate places with different things. You can maybe talk about details on one side, and you can talk about definitions and like overview on the other side. I think this is really difficult. I struggle with this personally, but I try to at least move. You're more likely to like, look at me and listen to me if you have something to stare at that's moving around, right? It's that simple. Body language and gesticulation. So gesticulation is this thing, the ability to move your arms and hands to try to describe topics. It's a fancy word that sounds a bit suspicious. For body language, keep an open stance, stand tall, be proud of what you're presenting. You are the expert. I'm not really an expert in this, but you assume that I am, so you should be proud of what you're talking about, especially when it comes to technical presentations, academic presentations, right? You really are the expert. Nobody knows your paper better than you, or maybe your co-authors do, depending on how lazy you are. But yeah, you really are the expert, and be proud of that. Stand up, don't keep your shoulders over, don't hunch over, really try to stand up. People will listen to you more the more proud you are, be big on stage, right? You should be heard. And moving your arms, this is about gesticulation. This one's tough. This is the concrete advice if you're struggling with this, is try to silently describe something, like mime out, like if your system is bounded, or if you're pushing things on the stack, or if there's a long sequence. Like these things help for people to understand what you're talking about. For most people, gesticulation is natural, but if you somehow have recorded yourself, or if you've seen your own presentation somehow, if you see your arms or hands are not moving, try to change that. This one's tough. It came naturally to me, so I didn't have to think about it too much. But yeah, just maybe try imagining silently, to explain something, and then slowly you'll pick up on it. Personableness, it's a nice word. Just try to be kind to your audience. Thank them for coming at the start. This is something, there's a public speaking event in the UK. There'll be similar things in different countries called Toastmasters. That's one of the first rules is thank your audience for coming, right? They chose to be here. Yeah, sure, there is a conference fee, but you're not really paying to be here, right? You're being paid to be here. And so you don't really want to listen to me as much. If you're paying to listen to me, it'd be fine. I could talk absolute gibberish, just like I am now, and you would listen to me. But just try to be kind, thank them for coming. Be respectful of the fact that they're tired. They might be jet lagged coming all the way to Singapore or wherever else you're presenting. Maybe tell a joke. I've tried to slip them in here. This one I put sometimes. There are times and places for academic talks. Maybe it's not always appropriate. I give them anyway. But I think it helps to connect, right? If you're smiling and you're laughing, you're more likely to listen to someone. They kind of feel more like a friend immediately. They feel more approachable. You're more likely to get questions. You're more likely for people to think about your science. So I think it actually goes a long way. If you're struggling with this, just think about jokes, ask your colleagues, ask your supervisor, whatever, write them down, and then hard machine learn them for the start of your presentation and say something funny at the start. I think it really helps to break the ice between, you and your audience, especially in the direction of you to your audience. You're probably nervous, like I am, and by saying something funny, you kind of relax into it a little bit. Storytelling, I don't know how to give a recipe for storytelling, but I'll just kind of give some thoughts around storytelling. The first one's, I think, my favorite, right? Your audience are log space machines. This isn't I'm not trying to be rude, I know you're all very, very intelligent. What I mean by that is they will forget everything you say. What was on 4 slides ago, you have no idea, right? You're along the journey, you can only see a purple slide right now. Be respectful of that, repeat everything, right? Repeat your important points thrice. Really repeat what you want people to remember. They've only got a few bits of memory, so you may as well forcibly fill them with what you want them to be filled with. And do this by telling simple stories. Keep it linear. Don't jump around. Don't give a theorem and then come back and give a proof and then go back to the original theorem. Keep it really simple. Generally speaking, underestimate. Give less. Talk for less time. Repeat things more. It will probably go a long way. People will remember it more. They'll talk to you afterwards in the coffee breaks if they had something to remember from your presentation. And with the stories, I think it's important to tell people why, right? It's not just what you've done and the science you have and how you've done it, why you're interested. I told you at the start that I think that one of the most important parts of what makes a good presentation is the softer side. I told you why I decided to stand up, other than the fact I was invited and it was really exciting. So yeah, I think these are some of the thoughts for storytelling. And as I was kind of getting at, I should probably repeat what I'm saying. So I've just gone through part 1. roughly in time, which I'm surprised at. Maybe it's because I'm speaking too quickly. You should use your voice, share eye contact, ideally have it uniform over everyone, whether it's a figure of 3 pattern or a figure of 8 pattern, it doesn't matter. Move around, gesticulate, show some personality, right? The more, I really think this is maybe the most important after you use your voice, the more expressive and the more kind of personal you are, whether it's jokes, just being honest with what you find interesting, telling people why you like it. This helps, right? It makes you connect. And keep your stories simple, repeat everything. Here's part 2 and 3. We're next going to talk about the basics of slideshows that I think are important, that I'm trying to separate my talk as a softer talk compared to a hard science talk. So I'll talk a little bit about this. There's a lot that I'm not speaking about, but I'll share some thoughts anyway. So the first and the most important is know your slides. Right, here's a test. I'm not looking at my slides. So the first one is you should never read off your slides. The next one is you should always, there's no screens. There are no screens. I'm watching you. I'm keeping eye contact. Maybe I should give more to you. You should always simplify your slides, and you should try to use different methods to remember them. I'll tell you what I do to remember my slides. I don't know why this works. It's kind of orthogonal to what you would expect. I sit down with my slides after I've basically made the final version, and I handwrite an entire script, the whole thing. I don't memorize this thing. I just imagine what I'm going to say as I'm going through. It takes like 2 hours for a presentation of this length. It's a ridiculous spend of time. I think for a lot of people this is a waste of time. Fine. And it helps me remember the slides. Right? I succeeded on this slide. It went well. And reading off your slides is sometimes okay, right? Like if you've got an important point, you can go like, oh, look at this. Your slides. That kind of reading off your slides is fine, but you should not stand behind the terminal, as I said earlier, hide your body and read off the slides like this. It's not as engaging. And if you're struggling to remember your slides, you should probably be able to simplify them. Right? You should see the first iteration of this slideshow. The whole thing probably had twice as many words as it does now. Like I found thrice instead of 3 times, right? Like I saved a word, which is great. Probably increased the complexity, but sure. It's really important to know your slides. The slicker you look, the more people will listen to you, right? Like it's more engagement. 1 point per slide, kind of. I don't think we need to say anymore. This is advice I got from my old PhD supervisor, Dimitri. He would always, when I gave a presentation, like a practice or a real one, he would like point at a slide and go, "You said too much on that slide. Like, you should split that into 2, or even split it into 3, or even split it into 4." Sometimes I was really overpacking my slides. I don't think I've overpacked these ones. I spent far too long thinking about the 1 point per slide. It's remarkable, like really remarkable, how many presentations you will hear at this conference where they make 7 points on one slide and you just get kind of completely overblown by information. It's impossible to remember every point they make. Just look at it and think about what are the points. If you've got a definition and a theorem, make it 2 slides, put the definition on one side, put the theorem on another slide. And then if you want to relate them somehow, have another slide that is about the relation. The relation between the theorem and the definition is itself a point. Give it its own slide. Less is more. This slide has got some of the most on, which is ironic. This inequality you should all know. This is a strict inequality. These are really, truly strict. I really try my best to keep unnecessary text off this presentation, but I have had some text. Like, text is useful. In fact, I tried to come up with a picture for this line, right? Because it's kind of ironic by saying pictures are better than text, but this is in text. I couldn't think of it, so I just decided to keep it in text, but I got it minimal. And I think this example kind of says all I need to know. I'm going to keep this point short because, I mean, if I just hid this figure, right, and I just gave you that, you're immediately switching off, like, oh my god, what is sigma, what is q, what's going on? But you see a picture and you're like, because people think about DFAs or NFAs like this. Nobody thinks like that, right? So even though this is technically not as expressive, right? This says less. This is just a small example for what is ultimately just a definition. It's about engagement, right? People are going to start switching off. They see loads of symbols. 2 more points. So the next point after this is basically the same. Title slides are important. Here's mine. Okay, I've removed the title. I've replaced the title with this. This is the title slide I'm using for my presentation. I'm not necessarily saying that you should give a title slide like mine. Do what you want. But I think the title slides are super important. I put pictures of co-authors on. I think it's nice, right? You can see like who you've worked with. It's kind of engaging. I've noticed when people come in, they kind of like stare at the pictures, and I don't know. It just makes people want to hear what you're going to say more if you have more on your title slide. Your title slide will stay on screen for a while,
when people are coming into the room or when you're switching over from the previous presenter, your title slide will be up for quite a while. This is when I kind of counteract my previous advice on less is more. I think more is more on the title slide, because you're not saying anything for a little while. People will like take the time to read, they're curious, they want to like poke around. I also think it's important to put the room on, right? If there are multiple rooms, multiple tracks, and someone pokes their head in the door, they kind of want to know if they're like signing up to the right talk. So I think some of this like extra information is useful, but it's not necessarily strictly necessary. So you don't have to do this, but just put lots of stuff on your title slide. Make it curious. Don't just put the title in your name, right? Like I did for this presentation. Make it interesting. I considered putting a picture on this presentation on my title of like me giving a talk. Realised that looked pretty big-headed, so I scratched that. I couldn't think of anything better. Maybe I should have done it now that I'm talking about it. But yeah, I really think title slides are important. And stand in front of your title slide and talk for a while. Don't just skip it. The number of times I've been at a conference or a workshop and I'm just getting my notebook out and I'm just writing down the title and the presenter, and they've skipped to the next slide before you've even finished writing the title. So you can't even take a good log of what you're listening to. I think this is like kind of frustrating. Stay on the title slide for a while. Tell them what you're going to say on the title slide. This is when you have the most ears on you. Tell them what they're signing up for, whether to give you attention or whether they should check their emails. And like I said, I've got a similar point, which is conclusion slides are also important. I think these are even more important. Never use a blank thank you slide. If you've got one in your presentation, change it now. I think they're terrible because, sure, it does the third point. It makes it very obvious when the audience should clap, and that's an important point. You should like know when the end of your presentation is precisely. But there's nothing on there for them to read because there's going to be questions. They probably want their memory jogged to help them come up with a question they're going to ask you. This blank thank you slide does not help in any way, shape or form. But you still want to make it obvious when you should clap. So my conclusion slide, hopefully, will show you what I mean as an example. But obviously, we're on slide 13 out of 19. It will come in 6 slides. Personally, I think writing down the main points is the best thing you can do on a conclusion slide. I just write the main theorems or the main definitions or example, whatever. Just the main things you want people to remember. It might be the last thing they write in their notebook before they stop listening to your presentation. This one's going to be ironic because immediately after this slide there is a recap slide. I got this really nice like 3-step expression, and it kind of feeds back into what I spoke about earlier on repeating your important points thrice. Some of you may have heard about this before, which is tell your audience what you are going to say. Sounds ironic because you're just about to say it, because you do just then say it. You should do this first part on a title slide and an overview slide. I gave a title slide and I told you like roughly what I was going to say. I told you why I'm here. Then I gave an overview slide and I told you exactly what the 3 main things are. Then I've been saying it right now, and then you tell them what you said. So I have my recap slides, I repeat it. This is repeating your important points thrice, like all over. It couldn't be any simpler. This, I don't know if you've heard of this before, but I really like this. I like it. Okay. Recap. So we've done the first 2, we've done soft skills, we've done slideshow basics. You should know your slides, you should have at most 1 point per slide. Generally speaking, less is more, with some exceptions like your title and your conclusion, and maybe if you're giving a seminar, like a longer form talk, having like lots of details is good, but I'm talking more about shorter presentations of this length or shorter. Yeah, I've told you your title and conclusion slides are important, and I think you should do recaps. Amazing. And the third part is about self-improvement. I'm going to give you 3 options, an easy option, an intermediate option, and a hard option on how to try to improve your presentations. I've done all of them, so I'd like to believe I'm an expert in the 3 things that I'm going to say. There are probably other ways of improving, but I'm just giving you my experience now. So the first is practice your presentations. Absolutely mandatory, in my opinion. Get a small group, at least 2 people, not just 1, because it feels kind of difficult to simulate a presentation with just 1 person, at least in my opinion. Even with 2 people, you already have kind of an audience going on. Maybe you do it within your research group, right? You maybe have a supervisor and some other students, or you get friends in. If you can get non-science friends, like real friends in the room to listen, that's really good. Because as soon as they switch off, you've got something too technical. I appreciate that if you want to share science, you have to share technical details, but the longer you can keep your non-science friend along the journey, the better you're explaining it to a broader audience. When you're at a conference, even like Licks, there are lots of topics you don't know, right? You can look at all the titles of the presentation. Do you really understand more than 50% of them? Probably no. You probably don't even understand 25% of them. So be kind to your audience, right? Give them slow definitions. Keep them engaged for as long as possible. And you can this really shows when you get a non-science friend to listen to you. And make them give you feedback. So the format I had during my PhD, it was really good. Like my supervisor gave me loads of time for this. I know that not every supervisor will give the same amount of time. Get a small research group together and give a practice presentation and have like a half an hour discussion. It was quite detailed. It was pretty brutal. They go like, that slide was too technical, this bit you did badly, this bit you did well. It's really good. And then you can give your justification, like why you did something. And maybe by discussing it reveals maybe the main point you tried to give on that particular slide. Maybe you can adjust it accordingly. But I really think this is borderline mandatory, and it's pretty easy. You just need like an hour and a small room and a small group of people, and you can practice. It's ridiculous, in my experience, the difference between presentations that I practiced and presentations that I haven't practiced. I can give you videos of both if you really want to see them. It is night and day, and if you practice it maybe just once, the quality really bumps up. 2 or 3 times is obviously quite a lot. Maybe you give one practice presentation to a small group, and maybe you do one by yourself, I don't know, in your room or something. It goes a long way. Intermediate option, I'm doing it now. I'm recording myself. Hello, future Henry. I watch back a lot of my presentations. It's painful, like really, really, really painful. But it's really obvious when you did something wrong. Like right now, I'll be like, Henry, speak slower, right? I'm speaking way too quickly right now. And it becomes really obvious when you watch it back. You can see what was bad, you can see what was good. I think one of the things you should try and do is record your practice and your live presentations. So I record most of my live, not all of them, and I sometimes record practice, though I must admit I don't record that many of my practice presentations. But I watch every single one back, even if it's painful. You might hate how you look, you might hate the sound of your voice. That's completely normal. I hate the sound of my voice. I hate how I look when I'm presenting. But it's good. It's really good for like self-improvement. The detection rate of where you're going wrong is it's so good. Maybe just concretely, just identify one thing you didn't like, just one, and try and do it better the next time. So my next presentation, I'm probably going to speak slower, or at least I hope to speak slower. Hopefully you'll see that if you do decide to attend my other presentation, and hopefully I will speak slower. But I don't know if I'll watch this back in time, so I don't know when future Henry is going to watch this. And then the hard option. This one is hard. It takes a lot of nerve, but I think it's the most valuable, and I got a lot from it personally. Try public speaking. It's really, really, really painful. Standing in front of an audience of this size or bigger, not talking about science, talking about something really soft. It's tough, right? I don't know how to describe it. It's so nerve-wracking. It's so painful. But after a few times, you kind of get through the nerves, you get through the pain, as long as you actually actively participate in public speaking sessions. And then suddenly, your confidence will like really jump up, like really, really jump up. I was nervous before this, but not as nervous as I would have been. And I think public speaking's done me a lot. They give you feedback. These sessions, everyone talks to each other about how people are presenting. You'll improve your soft skills of orders of magnitude, more so than practice, more so than recording. And it makes academic talks feel so simple afterwards. Like, I can talk about science that I know, of course I can, right? So one of the things that I did in public speaking sessions, at the end they had this board, right? And there was 8 questions on the board. You could optionally stick your hand up, and you could volunteer yourself to go to the front, and you could talk about the question that you selected for 2 or 3 minutes. So you just kind of an improv type thing. One of the questions, the first time I did it, I probably jumped in a bit too far in the deep end. It was, what was the most difficult phone call you've ever had? Right? You can probably all think about a really tough phone call you've had. I reckon everyone here's had a really nasty one. Now imagine standing in front of 30 strangers for 2 minutes with a microphone, explaining that really difficult phone call. It's really, really tough. Once you've done that, this is easy. It's so easy. Your confidence will like shoot through the roof. I think this is like the main point I want to make towards improving confidence. Is try public speaking. If you go to a university, there's probably a club, or if you're in a city, there's almost certainly some small club or bar where you can do this. Yeah, I know this is tough, but I think this is like by far the most valuable. But it is tough. Okay, so as I said, I think conclusion slides are important. Here's my conclusion slide. I have included all of the main points so that when you clap, you can read them, and if you want to ask questions, you can do so. Thank you for listening.